Hi, and welcome to English-Fabule. Are you learning English? Great. Let's learn English with a very interesting story. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. Let's get started.
Imagine a place where airplanes and ships just disappear from the map. For more than 100 years, strange things have happened in one part of the Atlantic Ocean. Many reports say that over 50 ships and 20 airplanes have vanished there. They disappeared without sending any emergency message. Hundreds of people on these ships and planes were lost forever. They were never seen again. This has created a big mystery that people all over the world still talk about today. This mysterious area is called the Bermuda Triangle. Some people also call it the Devil's Triangle because it seems so dangerous. It is a large part of the ocean. You can draw its shape on a map by connecting 3 points. One point is Miami in Florida. The second point is the island of Bermuda. The third point is San Juan in Puerto Rico. Inside these lines is the famous triangle. Under the blue water, this area is like an aquatic graveyard. The ocean floor is filled with hundreds of wrecks. These are the old ships and maybe even planes that sank long ago. This history has made the area famous and frightening. Researchers and writers have tried to find answers for years. Countless books and documentaries try to prove that something strange is happening here. These stories have captured the world's imagination. What is the real mystery behind this perilous part of the ocean? Are the exciting stories true, or is there a simple explanation? This is the central question we will explore. We will look at the facts to find the real story behind the legend. 2. Early strange stories. The stories about this part of the ocean are not new. They started hundreds of years ago. Some of the first strange reports came from a very famous explorer. In 1492, Christopher Columbus sailed through the area. He was trying to get to Asia. He kept a detailed journal of his trip. In his journal, he wrote that something strange happened with his compass. The needle did not point north. It pointed northwest instead. This was very unusual. A few days later, he wrote about another mystery. He saw a strange light in the distance. He said it looked like a small candle flame that moved up and down in the sky. What was this strange light? More than 100 years later, in 1606, another story added to the area's reputation. A large English ship with 150 people was traveling to America. A very strong hurricane hit the ship near Bermuda and it wrecked. This was not a mystery, because everyone knew a storm destroyed the ship. But the event made people think the waters were dangerous. It is believed this shipwreck gave the writer William Shakespeare an idea for his famous play, The Tempest. In the play, he called the islands of Bermuda cursed. Another strange story comes from 1881. A ship was sailing from England to New York City. The crew saw another ship floating alone in the ocean. There was nobody on it. It was a ghost ship. Some crew members from the first ship got on the ghost ship to look around. Soon after, a very bad storm started. The two ships were separated in the bad weather. The next day, the first ship found the ghost ship again, but the crew members who went to explore it were gone. There was no sign of them anywhere. These early tales were spooky. They were some of the first signs that this part of the ocean was different. But these stories were only the beginning. 3. The Lost Ships and Planes. The stories about the Bermuda Triangle became more famous in the 20th century. People started to pay more attention because big, modern ships and planes began to disappear. One of the first big mysteries was the USS Cyclops. In February 1918, this large United States Navy ship was traveling to Baltimore. It had 300 men on board. The ship's route went through the Bermuda Triangle, but the USS Cyclops never arrived. What made it so strange was that the ship never sent a distress call for help. No one ever found any part of the ship or the men. Nothing was left, not even a small piece of wood. The U.S. Navy made an official statement. They said the disappearance was one of the most baffling mysteries in the history of the Navy. It seemed like the giant ship just vanished. The disappearances continued. In 1941, 2 more Navy ships were lost in the same area. First, the USS Proteus, with 58 people, suddenly vanished. A month later, another Navy ship with 61 people on board also disappeared completely. But the most famous case happened in 1945. This story made people very suspicious about the area. It is the story of Flight 19. 5 U.S. Navy airplanes from World War II were on a normal training flight. They took off from Florida for a 3-hour exercise. Their plan was to fly over the ocean and then return to their base. But the planes never came back. The 5 planes and all the pilots were lost. No one knows what happened to them. Even after this, the pattern did not stop. In 1948, a long flight with more than 30 people disappeared in the Triangle. A year after that, in 1949, another plane of the exact same type also vanished without a trace. All of these stories of lost ships and planes created a powerful legend. People wanted to know what was happening in this small part of the ocean. 4. A legend is made. For many years, the stories of lost ships and planes were separate mysteries. People knew about the USS Cyclops. They heard about the strange case of Flight 19. But these were just single, sad stories. Some people started to think these events were connected. They saw that all of these accidents happened in the same part of the Atlantic Ocean. They wanted to understand. A writer named Vincent Gaddis was one of these people. In 1964, he wrote an article for a magazine. In this article, he gave the area its famous name, the Bermuda Triangle. Gaddis argued that the number of disappearances was too high. He wrote that for such a small area, it was not normal for so many ships and planes to vanish without a trace. He believed it was more than just chance or bad luck. His article connected the different mysteries and gave people one name for this strange place. The legend became much more famous 10 years later. In 1974, a writer named Charles Berlitz published a book. Its title was simple, The Bermuda Triangle. The book was a huge success. It became a bestseller and sold millions of copies all over the world. It was translated into more than 20 different languages. Because of this book, the Bermuda Triangle became a household name. Suddenly, everyone was talking about it. The book was popular because it was full of exciting and strange ideas. Berlitz did not believe that bad weather or human error could explain everything. He suggested much more mysterious reasons. His book talked about Atlantis, the famous lost city. Maybe there was old energy or powerful crystals from this city deep under the sea. These things could make compasses stop working and planes fall from the sky. The book also explored other amazing ideas, like wormholes, which are like tunnels in time and space. These theories were not based on science, but they made for a very good story. Charles Berlitz's book took many different events and wove them into a single, terrifying legend that everyone wanted to read about. A legend was made. 5. Are stories enough? The ideas about old civilizations or special energy from crystals are very exciting. But we must stop and think. Can we really call these stories evidence? A few stories about lost ships and planes, separated by many years, do not prove that an area of the ocean is cursed. We cannot just present a handful of strange events and say it is proof of something mysterious. It is important to ask more questions about these popular tales. When you look closer, you start to see the problems. A book from 1974 is the reason the Bermuda Triangle legend became so famous. It sold over 14 million copies around the world. The book argued that something strange was really happening there. However, it was full of mistakes and incorrect information. Many people checked the facts in the book and found big errors. For example, some ships that the book said vanished in the triangle actually sank in other parts of the world. Other disappearances happened during huge hurricanes, which is a known danger, not a mystery. The stories were often changed to be more exciting. So, why do we enjoy these stories so much, even when they have errors? Our brains are built for them. We love a good mystery. It is exciting to hear about ghost ships and planes that disappear without a trace. We like to find connections between different events. A good storyteller can make a tale feel very real. Even people who are very logical can get pulled into a good story. It is easy to get lost in the excitement. But this love for stories can be a big problem. A powerful story can make us forget to ask for real proof. The story can feel more important than the facts. This is concerning because the truth is important. We need to remember that a good story and the real truth are not always the same thing. We must ask a question. Are these stories enough? Or should we look for a different kind of answer, one based on facts and not just feelings? 6. Looking for answers. The stories about aliens and magic crystals were exciting, but many people wanted real answers. They started to look for scientific reasons to explain the disappearances in the Bermuda Triangle. These ideas sounded more serious and used science, not magic. One of the first scientific theories is about the Earth's magnetism. The Earth acts like a giant magnet, which is why compasses point north. Some people think the magnetic field in the Bermuda Triangle is unusual. They believe it can suddenly change or become weak. If this happened, a ship's compass or a plane's navigation tools would stop working correctly. A pilot or captain could get lost very easily and fly or sail in the wrong direction, running out of fuel far from land. This theory could also explain what Christopher Columbus saw with his compass hundreds of years ago. Another popular idea is about methane gas. Deep under the ocean floor, there are large amounts of trapped gas. Sometimes this gas can suddenly burst out. This creates a huge area of bubbles on the water's surface. The water becomes like foam and cannot support a ship. A large ship could sink in seconds if it sailed over one of these gas blowouts. It would disappear very quickly with no time to send an emergency message. This could be why some wrecks are never found. Finally, the most simple explanation is the weather. The Bermuda Triangle is in a part of the world known for terrible storms. It is often called Hurricane Alley because so many powerful hurricanes pass through it. These storms create very strong winds and enormous waves. There is also the danger of rogue waves. A rogue wave is a single giant wave that can be over 100 feet tall. A wave that big is like a wall of water. It can easily destroy a big ship or pull a low-flying airplane from the sky. These scientific explanations seemed much more likely than the old stories. 7. The real numbers. The ideas in the last chapter sound scientific. Methane gas from the ocean floor or problems with the Earth's magnetism are interesting explanations. But they are just that, ideas. They are only guesses about what might be happening. Saying smart-sounding words like geomagnetism is not the same as having real proof. We need more than clever ideas or scary stories to find the truth about the Bermuda Triangle. To understand what is really going on, we need to look at the facts and the numbers. So, how can we find these real facts? The best way is to stop focusing on a few famous stories. Instead, we should look at a large amount of information. This is called using data. We can collect information about tens of thousands of ships and planes that travel all over the world. We can record every single accident over many years. Then we can use math to see which parts of the ocean are truly dangerous. This is the best tool humans have to see the world clearly. It helps us understand reality without being confused by exciting stories. This method is much better than just listening to stories that might not be completely true.
Experts who work with shipping have studied this data for a long time.
They track ships and accidents across all the world's oceans every day. One important shipping group, Lloyd's List, collected a lot of information about this problem. They looked at thousands of boats that passed through the Bermuda Triangle over a full year. They carefully counted how many of these boats had an accident. Then they compared the number of accidents in this area to the number of accidents from the rest of the world. This gives a clear picture of the danger. The results from the data are very surprising. The numbers show that the Bermuda Triangle is not an unusually dangerous place. In fact, it is safer than many other parts of the ocean. The number of accidents is not high at all. It is much lower than the world average for ship accidents. One study showed that for every 100 boats that have an accident somewhere in the world, a much smaller number have an accident in the triangle. The real numbers tell a very different story. From the data, there is no great mystery here. The Bermuda Triangle is just another part of the ocean. 8. The story and the truth. We started this journey with a great mystery. We heard the amazing stories of lost ships like the USS Cyclops and missing planes like Flight 19. We learned how writers in the 1960s and 1970s created the legend of the Bermuda Triangle. They wrote popular books with exciting ideas about aliens, wormholes, and strange energy from the lost city of Atlantis. We also looked at more scientific ideas. These included giant waves and large bubbles of methane gas from the seafloor. But the final answer to the mystery is not found in these dramatic stories or scientific guesses. The legend is very famous, but it is not the complete truth. It grew from a few real accidents that happened over many years. Writers took these separate events and connected them. They exaggerated the details to make the stories more mysterious and scary. Charles Berlitz's book sold millions of copies because people love a good story. The idea of a cursed place was more interesting than simple facts. This is how a normal part of the ocean became famous around the world for being so dangerous. The real truth is often less exciting. The data from shipping experts tells a different story. When we look at the real numbers, we see that the Bermuda Triangle is not an unusually dangerous place. Thousands of ships and planes travel through the area safely every single year. The number of accidents is not high. In fact, the accident rate is lower than the average for all the world's oceans. The most important lesson from the Bermuda Triangle is about the power of stories. A good story is easy to remember and fun to share. But sometimes a powerful story can hide the real facts. It is important to think carefully about the information we hear. We should always try to check the facts and not let an exciting story get in the way of the truth. What other famous mystery do you think has a simple explanation?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.